Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. Just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Feisty, fearless, and fair. She's an Emmy-winning journalist from the White House to war zones, telling all sides of the story. This is the Rita Cosby Show. Breaking news.
And tonight on the Rita Cosby Show, things are escalating in Minneapolis. The Department of Justice now officially launching a federal criminal investigation of Tim Walz, the governor, and Jacob Frey, the mayor of Minneapolis, saying that they may have conspired to impede immigration agents' actions. Obstruction of justice. This is a biggie. And many people coming out and saying, listen, words matter. And words can also inspire actions. And a lot of the words that they have said in recent days have been very incendiary, very insightful, very violent, I think, in terms of getting people riled up. And you see so many of these groups feel emboldened, so much so that there were 3 individuals the other day that were beating an ICE agent with shovels and broom handles. So the Department of Justice taking action. And just a little bit ago when we were on Katz and Cosby, we talked with John Yoo, who's the great constitutional expert, and listened to what he said about charges could be coming soon.
What becomes very troubling, there are reports that the governor of Minnesota, Walz, has indicated that, catch this, that he would use state National Guard to stop the federal authorities. Isn't that over the line? Isn't Walz totally out of his mind?
Yes. If he were to actually do that, he would be committing obstruction of justice and he could be arrested. And look, I have to say, this is a sad thing. Even the Southern segregationist governors did not go that far. When President Eisenhower told them to stand down, when he told their militaries to go back to back, they did. They obeyed. Right. And if Governor Walz wants to go beyond the effort to nullify federal law that even Southern segregationists did, that tells you everything you need to know about Governor Walz and his understanding of the Constitution. Thank God that guy did not become vice president.
That is extraordinary. And it's a great point of what he just said. And some of the things that Governor Walz has said clearly have been, I believe, very incendiary. They're not, I don't believe, protected by the First Amendment. There's a big difference between First Amendment and then saying, go follow these people because essentially they're committing atrocities, putting them in the category of war crimes. That also is incentivizing somebody, maybe somebody who's got a screw loose, to go out and take action against these people because they feel emboldened. They feel that even federal authorities or state authorities in this particular case and city officials are on their side. Listen to what Tim Walz had to say not that long ago about following ICE agents, recording them because they're the boogeymen.
Tonight I want to share another way you can help. Witness. Help us establish a record of exactly what's happening in our communities. You have an absolute right to peacefully film ICE agents as they conduct these activities. So carry your phone with you at all times. And if you see these ICE agents in your neighborhood, take out that phone and hit record. Help us create a database of the atrocities against Minnesotans, not just to establish a record for posterity, but to bank evidence for future prosecution.
And let's not forget Jacob Frey, the mayor of Minneapolis. And remember, it was Walz and Frey who let Minneapolis burn in 2020 during all the George Floyd riots. Let's definitely not forget that. Jacob Frey coming out. Remember, he was the one who said, ICE get the F out of Minneapolis. And then just in the last 24 hours, he says the only way that we'll have peace in our community is, well, listen to this.
If this were about order, there would be a simple way to restore it. And let me tell you a secret. It's not restored by additional federal agents. Order would be restored, and I will make this prediction, if those federal agents left. As soon as they leave, we will have peace, we will have safety, and order will be restored.
And again, the big news tonight, in just the last hour or so, it has come out that the federal government, the DOJ, has launched an official criminal investigation into Walz and Frey over alleged conspiracy to impede the actions of ICE agents. Obstruction of justice. This is a very, very big deal. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Dom in Minnesota on line 4. Dom, your thoughts tonight?
You know, Rita, I hear the personal insults thrown by these quote-unquote protesters, and that woman in Florida kicking a law enforcement officer fighting to resist arrest. Now, at this point, I'm starting to personally feel the pain experienced by these ICE agents when I see those things, especially when I see their MLK and Gandhian level of restraint against these violence and hate coming from these paid thugs. But I do have a question for you, Rita. I know that hate speech is protected, but I thought harassment and defamation that these peaceful moms are resorting to, it's not protected. Am I wrong?
Yes. And by the way, that's where it gets to. Is it threatening? And in the case of these officials, is it impeding ICE's actions? And let's not forget, it's federal authorities. You can't block federal authorities from doing their job. So their actions could, be creating, and they're inspiring these moms like you're talking about to get out there and to do these actions. They will, of course, argue it is free speech, but you can't yell fire in a theater and wonder why everybody's running, that's the case here, Dom.
I think we should test that in a court of law, because all these agents have to do is, video record these moms and actually to play their speech. But when I see that on TV, it's pretty obvious to me. These guys, spitting on them and talking personal about them. I'm going to do this and this to your wife and your daughter, whatever. Those are harassment that should be prosecuted. I don't know why people are not doing that.
I agree. And by the way, it even goes further, and you know that all too well because you're there in Minnesota, Dom.
Yeah.
I mean, they're throwing bottles of ice water that's frozen because it's freezing there, as you know. And they are throwing it like it's a brick at somebody's head, at an ICE agent's head. They're bashing their car. They're breaking into vehicles. They also were trying to get tow trucks to ram into the ICE building. By the way, they were trying to get into a Hilton hotel there in Minneapolis where they found out that ICE agents were staying. And thank goodness there were 3 guards at that hotel who blocked them from coming in. But this big mob was trying to storm the hotel. What would they have done if they got to the room of an ICE agent who's not armed and maybe woken up? I mean, this is, you don't have the right to terrorize people. And you don't have the right to threaten people. And also take physical action. What about breaking into the cars where, they had the federal, law enforcement guy, the Latin Kings guy, broke in. He's a gang member, broke into that vehicle. And there was a weapons cache. So now suddenly people have a number of weapons that are federal agents' weapons. Luckily that guy got arrested, but you don't have the right to do things that are harmful or threatening. And even spitting at someone, you don't have the right to. So, it's going to be, I think, a really powerful case, Dom. And I think obviously there's some very severe examples. The ones I just brought up, those are just a few. I mean, these things are happening every day. They're showing up outside the home of these agents. They're following them. They're harassing them. They're putting out, their names. They're trying to break into the ICE facility, tear down the gate outside the ICE facility. That's destruction of property. I think the feds have been way too nice. And I'm happy that they're investigating these people. Their behavior and their comments have been reprehensible. And I think they need to send a message, especially to these leaders. These leaders are leaders of community. They know better. Everybody knows better, but especially I believe leaders of community really even more so need to uphold the standards. These people they're fueling the flames. They're inciting these people and they're doing it on purpose, Dom. And that's a dangerous thing for America, not just for where you are in Minnesota, but it is, boy, so dangerous. What's the reaction there on the ground in Minneapolis? I mean, when you talk to people, don't they just think a lot of these protesters are nuts?
Well, actually, I mean, I've been talking to a few friends of mine, a few friends of my wife's. Unfortunately, I'm getting a majority of responses that the ICE officers are wrong, but I am getting a few that are saying, you know what, I don't care what it is. If a guy asks me for identification, I don't want to confront him because I'll give it to him and take it. So there are people on both sides. But as of now, a lot of these people are, they don't get the news where it actually makes sense. They get 5-minute blurps, and that's their assessment is really bad. But my main thing is most of these protesters are white moms, and basically they are giving Trump and the Republicans in 2026 5 million 30-second spots they can put out on how these guys are behaving and win the election.
Yeah, no, I agree. You put it out there and go, you really want this in your community? I mean, it is interesting, Dom, you brought up these sort of middle-aged white women who are out there. What is it? Why are they getting sort of brainwashed into doing these things?
I don't want to say what I would like to say because they're lonely and they don't have any dates. And that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, maybe maybe it makes for a hot night out on the town, I guess. It gives new meaning to that. That is for sure, Tom. Are they just looking for longing or looking for something that emboldens them? I don't know. Maybe it's, like you said, maybe it's providing some meaning of life. What about giving back to like a charity you believe in? There's other ways to have meaning, right?
Yeah, because a lot of these ICE agents in uniform are very sexy. That's why they're going after them.
There you go. Now we solved it all, Dom. We solved it all on a Friday night. Dom, keep us posted because I know you're there in the thick of it all. So definitely keep us posted. Thanks so much, Dom, and you stay safe. Everybody, we will continue your calls after the break here on The Rita Cosby Show.
It's The Rita Cosby Show. Rita Cosby is on.
Well, Dom in Minnesota just talked about how in Florida, they don't mess around. It's a very different situation, the way they handle protesters there in the Sunshine State compared to Minnesota. And it just shows when you have good leadership and clarity in leadership, then there's law and order. That's not the case, obviously, with Walz and Jacob Frey in Minnesota. But here is Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna. We talked with her earlier on Katz and Cosby, and she talked about how Florida, well, it's a whole different ballgame if you mess around with law enforcement there. You saw this, probably an anti-ICE protester. DeSantis said, guess what? If you break the law in Florida, it's a little different. Tell us how Florida's handling it and maybe the cue Minnesota can take from it.
Yes, this woman named Jessica, she was a total nut job. She went up to an ICE officer and I believe she punched him in the face from what I had read in one of the reports. And so she was immediately arrested, and I think that should be the standard of justice across the country. But ultimately, what's really interesting is, what we're seeing right now especially is because of all the rhetoric from some of these left-wing outlets surrounding ICE and what they've been doing. They're not covering the people that they're arresting are literally, child predators, rapists, etc. What they're trying to do is say that, ICE is going after innocent women and children, which is not true. But then to even go a step further, that woman that assaulted the ICE officer, I actually also had a independent journalist that was covering some of these counter ICE protests in my district that was also assaulted. And so we had to flag it for the Attorney General's office as well. And so I think that this is, the type of rhetoric that gets people hurt. But ultimately for us here in Florida, we don't tolerate that. And I'm very happy because, there's a zero tolerance for that.
Wish it was like that in Minnesota. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Nick in Toronto on line 4. Nick, when you're seeing this, what are you guys thinking?
Well, what I see is a bunch of lunatics in Minnesota there, and I just hope that it gets worse and then it's going to get better, meaning that there's going to be retribution. Hopefully ICE will just I hate to say it, but something bad's going to happen, and good on them. What do you mean good on them? I mean, you don't want anything negative to happen. No, not on ICE, on the troublemakers.
Right, but I don't wish anybody ill, but when you say, hang on, Nick, hold on, Nick, when you say trouble, what are you talking about, arresting them? I'd say arrest a lot of them.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. Arrest and an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, whatever that saying goes. But it's not going to get any better the way it is. These people they're not listening. It's like I really don't understand what's going on with the mayor there and the governor there. It's just ridiculous. I mean, we have Looney Tune politicians here, but not to that extent. I'm sure it probably will be in the future, but something has to be done. I mean, they're breaking federal laws.
Yeah, and they are obstructing.
That's what I mean by that.
I mean, that's the thing,
they're
Nick.
Obstructing.
That's what, when you say go follow them, go film them for their atrocities, they're Gestapo. I mean, how that, and I said this a few moments ago, that I really believe that there is a huge standard when somebody is when someone's an official, an elected official, state or city, whatever. I think you have to be even better than the average American. I mean, I don't think anybody should be wooed into assaulting federal agents, but these people sound like they'd be leading the charge on the picket line, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, you're supposed to, as a politician, or you're supposed to defuse a situation. You're not supposed to inflame it. And these people here, it's all Democrats. It's all Democrats. In my country, what happened a couple of years back. A lot of truckers got arrested. They got their bank accounts frozen.
Yes, that was horrible.
They didn't even break the law.
Yep, that was horrible.
There was actually a Supreme Court of Canada did say that the federal government did break the law. But the thing about it is nothing's going to happen.
No, but you know what? Your point is very true. And that was so heavy-handed what happened to the truckers. And I remember that very, very well, Nick. And you know that we were with you, the truckers, for sure, and their fight for freedom. And here it is. You're right. These individuals, this is such a different situation. These individuals are getting churned up, inspired, and I believe very much agitated by officials.
It's the Rita Cosby Show. It's the Rita Cosby Show.
And this Back the Blue segment coming from Cambridge, Massachusetts, where police officers saved a man with just a minute to spare before a train came. 2 Cambridge police officers ran down the stairs and onto the Red Line platform after a bystander suddenly ran up to them, reporting that someone had fallen onto the tracks. The officers jumped into the pit where the tracks run, stating the nearest train at that point was about 1 minute away. Now, the third rail power on the train was still active, and they weren't sure if they'd be able to get a message to the train to stop it before a tragic incident happened. They were able to physically pick the guy up and put him on the platform and then escape the active railway right before the train came in. The man said that he unexpectedly fell. He just lost his balance. Luckily, the man only suffered minor injuries and was expected to be okay, thanks to the great heroism and fast action from our men and women in blue. And of course, the big news tonight, if you're just tuning in, the Department of Justice is doing a criminal investigation now of Tim Walz, the governor of Minnesota, and Jacob Frey, the mayor of Minneapolis, over alleged allegations there of conspiracy to impede immigration agents' obstruction. This is a biggie, and it clearly shows that the Trump administration is fed up with the actions of these individuals who should be calming things, and instead they are fueling the flames. There's no doubt about it. Well, earlier today, we talked with Laura Trump, President Trump's daughter-in-law, and this is what she had to say about the rhetoric of these guys and more.
We're so lucky that our men and women in blue and our men and women who serve, of course, as federal law enforcement agents are doing these jobs because they are tough. They are dangerous. You've seen the threats against these ICE agents increase by 8,000% in the past year. You've seen that the vehicular assaults on them have increased by like 3,000%. These men and women go out and do a job so that we can live in a civilized country and you and I can feel safe every single day, and we should thank them every day. But instead you have these quote unquote leaders, and you do have to put that in air quotes because it's hard to call them a leader when they do these things, fanning the flames of, dissent and aggression towards our law enforcement officers. They're trying to do the job to enforce the laws as they're written on the books. And I wish these people like Frey and Walz, instead of encouraging people to, get up in the faces of these law enforcement agents, to protest against them, to continue to block a legitimate law enforcement operation from happening, I wish that they would tell people instead, if you don't like the laws as they're written, go protest Congress, because they're the people who vote on the laws of the land. And as they've existed, we are not allowed to have criminals coming into our country. We're not supposed to have anyone coming into our country who is not legally going about it and doing it the right way. And so I think it's really terrible whenever you see that you have, again, I put it in air quotes, leaders of cities and states who are calling for things that are really abhorrent and dangerous, quite frankly, to our law enforcement officers. You've seen the results of it lately, and it really has to stop. But maybe none of us should be surprised, because what else is it that the Democrats are campaigning on these days? What else is it that they have to say about anything? They're anti-Trump, Trump derangement syndrome all the way.
And speaking of some of the rhetoric, some of the worst continues to come from the likes of people like Ilhan Omar and Jasmine Crockett. And Jasmine Crockett was at a hearing in Minnesota today, and listen to what she called ICE.
Get offended and try to say I'm too black, but the reality is that y'all never let the fact that I am black go. So I'm going to be clear about one thing. I know my good black history, but this looks like modern day slave patrols. And they have been sanctioned by this Supreme Court.
What does that do?
That's amazing. I mean, that you have somebody there calling it modern day slave patrols, ICE. Federal law enforcement. I never in my wildest dreams imagined we would be at this moment where elected officials would be saying such horrible, incendiary vitriol. And this is interesting. I just learned this. Tom Homan, he's a 30-year ICE veteran, by the way. He received the Presidential Rank Award for Distinguished Service, get this, from President Obama. Of course, he is President Trump's border czar and in charge of all these operations. But several years ago, when President Obama was in office, President Obama recognized Homan's leadership in handling the border crisis and expanding detention during 2015. Homan oversaw interior removals under Obama, and that's when the administration at that point deported over 3 million people. Remember? That's what Obama did, but you never heard the Democrats complaining then. And here is Barack Obama. I wanted to take a little walk down memory lane. Here's Barack Obama. This was in 2008. This is during the Democratic primary. And he was blasting Bush and others for not being tough enough on illegal immigration. Listen to this one.
This administration, the Bush administration, has done nothing to control the problem that we have. We've had 5 million undocumented workers come over the borders since George Bush took office. It has become an extraordinary problem. And the reason the American people are concerned is because they are seeing their own economic position slip away. And oftentimes, employers are exploiting these undocumented workers. They're not paying the minimum wage. They're not observing worker safety laws. As president, I will make sure that we finally have the kind of border security that we need. That's step number one. Step number two is to take on employers. Right now, an employer has more of a chance of getting hit by lightning than be prosecuted for hiring an undocumented worker. That has to change. They have to be held accountable. Start shedding some light on the problem, and we can once again be a nation of laws and a nation of immigrants. That's what I intend to do as president of the United States.
Isn't that amazing? That is Barack Obama, again, who deported 3 million people. Democrats said nothing. And so far, Tom Homan has directed mass deportations targeting over 600,000 this year. Not even 3 million like Barack Obama. And yet look how vilified ICE is because it's doing the work of Trump. That is shocking. And boy, are these Democrats playing with fire. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Norm in Brooklyn. Go ahead, Norm. Your thoughts tonight.
Yeah, hi, Rita. Okay, I just wanted to say that the rebellion exhibited by Governor Walz and Frey, this is not an aberration, okay? And it's not Ilhan Omar exclusively, and it's okay. I live in House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries' district. I came home today. In my mailbox is a district update for the 8th district, and he's got a whole section here on taking on Trump. Okay, House Democrats are engaged in a multifaceted fight. And anyway, he established some litigation and rapid response task force to push back. Okay. Strike down. Okay. Keep troops out of our cities. That's a big one here. And he wants Americans to share their stories of their abuses, harmed by administration's policy. So yeah, it's all about rebellion. Let me ask you, Norm, of Trump.
Because you bring up, that flyer, right? I assume you've gotten other flyers in the past. Is this flyer different than ones you've gotten in the past?
This one is the first one I've had. Okay, he bombs my email with a lot of stuff. I don't read them. This is the first paper one I've seen where he actually devotes a section to taking on Trump, and Trump is highlighted. And this is the game they're playing now. It's not Ilhan Omar. It's not the Walz or Jacob Frey. It's the Democrats, and he's their leader. So this is the game they're playing now.
No, I agree. I hear what you're saying, because he did make some other comments verbally too, Hakeem Jeffries, that were right along that lines. And is this, I guess my question to you is, do you believe that this is happening because it's an election year? Or do you believe that this is the strategy from here on out? What do you think is the reasoning behind it?
It's an election year, and it's both. It's an election year, and it's all out war because Trump has been successful and he's stealing their thunder. He's been good for this country. They don't have an answer, so they have to take everything down to the lowest, denominator. They just bring it down. He's Hitler, and he's gonna keep troops in our cities, and we're gonna be under martial law, and that's it.
Yeah, Gestapo. You left out Gestapo. He lied to me. You left out the word Gestapo because that keeps coming up Gestapo. All the time.
He lied to me. I went to see him about. I was pretty sure he was not going to endorse Mamdani, but he did. So, I mean, when I went to see him, you know.
What? Wait, he said he was not going to endorse Mamdani? Wait, Norm.
Well, yeah, no, I went to go see Hakeem Jeffries back over the summer. And I asked him to not support Mamdani, and he was like, "Oh, well," and then like he basically didn't take a position. But I said he's gonna support him, and sure enough, he did. So
sure enough, he did.
The Democrats have gone crazy left, and that's it. That's the strategy. The crazy left. You're not going to find anything moderate, in the Democratic Party. I mean, maybe Fetterman. I mean, good luck with Fetterman.
And by the way, he may not stay as a Democrat for too long, Norm. I mean, it seems like the Democrats don't want him because, like you just said, he's one of the few common sense ones left. We're at a dangerous point though, Norm. And I think you hit a very powerful point that it has now become much more mainstream and these beliefs have become much more mainstream. And I think that is a major issue. When you see it's not just this fringe candidate saying this or that, like you just said, it is Hakeem Jeffries. It's the Democratic Party saying it, and you don't see them condemning it. I also was noticing, I think it was Cory Booker, who yesterday said the same thing, abolish ICE. I mean, these things that you would have thought were just a bunch of loonies in the party might say, now it's becoming, very much mainstream. And I think, it's not just dangerous, obviously, for the Democratic Party, but it's dangerous for America. And I think it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better, which is the scary thing. Norm, keep us posted. Let us know what else you get in the mail there. What other messages? Wow, wow, wow. Thank you very much, Norm. Let's go to Ernie in Montreal, Canada. It's a big Canada tonight. Go ahead, Ernie.
Well, I think, there's a multitude of factors that are operating at one time, but I think a significant one is that you have the generation that's now most vibrant in the United States has not been taught reverence and proper respect for the law. They don't realize what it took, starting with Magna Carta in England in 1215, and the evolution of individual rights and respect for the law. The social contract that lets us all live together because we all agree that the law has to be respected because our legislators...
Oops, I lost you there, Ernie, for a second. I lost you. Let me see if we can get you back. Go ahead, Ernie.
I was saying that I believe that there's the generation that's vigorous and operating today, not my generation. But
so how do we fix that, Ernie? How do we fix it right now?
But the education system is largely at fault. It's become a kind of a therapy session where kids are taught right through school. Well, if it doesn't feel good, you don't have to do it. If you're sitting in a college class and they're reading literature that makes you squirm, oh, you have a crying room to go into. I mean, come on, let's grow up. But there's a social contract that has taken centuries to develop in the Western world, not in the Eastern world, but in the Western world, that guarantees that things will be done well and that the legislature will correct things when faults become evident. But people aren't taught the proper reverence and respect for it.
Yeah, and by the way, Ernie, you look at also even within colleges. I mean, speaking of colleges, some of the worst vitriol, anti-Semitic vitriol, not just anti-police, but anti-Semitic was coming out of college campuses. And sadly, I agree with you. We've lost our values. We need better teachers, and we need teachers who aren't biased, because what was happening on some of these college campuses were the teachers were joining in on some of the protests. That's a problem too. Boy, oh boy. Ernie, thank you very much. Let's go to Pete in Staten Island, line 5. Go ahead, Pete.
Hi, Rita. I'm going to put something out there, and we'll see if I'm right. Within 6 months from now, our mayor is going to be fired by Governor Hochul because she will step into the limelight and get a lot of backing by doing this. She'll get funding with Donald Trump, and the city will be in good shape. But for the next 6 months, it's going to be a rough ride.
By the way, I completely disagree, Pete, and I'll tell you why. I completely disagree because it's an election year. And I think she's going to pander to Mondani. She's going to want his voters. She already endorsed him. You know, she was pretty quick to endorse him. And I think she's going to fold like a cheap suit. And I think the last thing she's going to want to ever do is fire him. She's already signaled she's going to support pretty much everything he's going to do. And even if she can't deliver, she's going to pretend like she's at least trying. So that'll appeal to his voters. And then she could say, well, I couldn't do it. So, some of the things she wants to do, she'll get done. Some that she can't do, she'll at least look like she's trying to, again, kind of appease to his voter base. But I think the last thing she's going to want to do is alienate him and his voter base. And that's not good news for New York. Your final thoughts, Pete?
Well, my final thoughts is that he stuck it to her with this free bus, because now he's blaming her that as the governor, she's stopping the free buses, and she don't like that. You see, now this point with being funded is very important, because right now what we got going on with what happened in Venezuela, we may be able to get our gas down low. And if we could get our gas down to like $1.50, that's going to really help the stores to have the deliveries of the groceries and the food and the supply.
No doubt. But it still doesn't help the free, all the free buses and everything else like you're talking about. And I agree. He's going to stick it to her. She's going to try to kind of thread the needle and be nice to everybody. But I don't see her wanting to take it to him. She may just take the verbal incoming from him and just bite her tongue. Because sadly, I think he's the one pulling the strings right now. And that saddens me. 1-800-848-9222. We'll continue after the break, everybody.
It's the Rita Cosby Show. This is the Rita Cosby Show.
And coming up, we'll continue to talk about Minneapolis and all these big developments as the protests are continuing tonight. Also, Iran, Greenland, and so much more. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Let's go to Alice in Ohio on line 4. Go ahead, Alice.
Hello, Rita. You are so right. We're at a very dangerous point in our history. I never thought I would ever live to see this. And part of it is because the Democrats are working against the country. They're trying to destroy us. On the other side, I wish the Republicans would take the positive side of what the Democrats are doing and get together, work together. They don't have to agree with everything the president does, but they work against him. They need to get together to work in harmony to bring us back to where we were. I am afraid. I am really afraid of what I'm seeing. We've seen it building over the past couple of years. You are so right. It's scary.
It is scary. And you know what? I agree. Like the Republicans, and even President Trump talked about it this week. I mean, you've got the Rand Pauls who never seem to agree with President Trump, on the Senate side. And then you have in the House side, you've got Thomas Massie and you've got a number of others there. So it's always some sort of, twist or turn where the Democrats definitely vote in lockstep. And there's a lot at stake this year. People have to really realize in the midterms, if the Democrats get in, it is going to be, I call it impeachment mania, Alice, because they're going to try to impeach Trump. Anybody tied to Trump. You delivered a letter to him. They're going to go after you.
It's the Rita Cosby Show.
Every week, the Payne family cuts straight to the real financial story.
The one question, Bob, everyone's asking is, are we in an artificial intelligence bubble? You've been through boom and bust. What do you think?
No hype, no myths. just what actually matters to your money.
Does feel very similar to what we experienced in the 90s. Where are we, though? Are we in 1995, 1997, 1999?
Listen to The Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.